Now this next story should probably concern only those folks who make purchases using a credit card, which is actually probably most people here in the United States. Now the headlines read, Feds warrantlessly tracking Americans' credit cards in real time. So, should we all be worried? Well, security researcher Christopher Seguin is here for more. Chris, this new document that was released basically shows that the Feds have been tracking Americans using their credit cards, but shouldn't they have to get a court order to do that?
Well, what we've known for a while is that the government is able to access people's credit card history. What these documents show is that the government is accessing people's credit card transactions in real time. So rather than getting the information after the fact, at the moment you swipe your card, the government can find out. Not only does this reveal which merchants you're going to, but because they know that the card is present, it reveals where you are. So you're at this gas station or this coffee shop. So it gives them some location information. In the past, they've been able to get historical information with just a subpoena, which is sort of just a letter the government writes that says, we think this is relevant to an investigation. The surprising thing is they're able to sort of track you in real time without having a judge really review whether that is okay. There's no sort of Fourth Amendment protections, and the bar with which they can get this is extremely low. So it's relevance to an investigation, which is very easy to prove.
Now, you actually got the document. Besides the fact that they're now tracking it in real time, anything else that we should know, anything else that concerned you personally about it?
Well, other than the fact that that they're getting credit card information, we found out they're also tracking airlines, hotels, maybe supermarket loyalty cards or shopping clubs. So there are vast arrays of information they're getting. But because they're not getting any sort of judicial oversight of these requests, we really don't have any sort of check and balance. There's no audit trail. We don't know how many of these requests are happening. There's not really any protection against abuse. So if an agent wants to lie on the letter and say that his former spouse is a target in an investigation, there's no judge who's going to make sure that really is the case. And so this is potentially a very large program, and we just have no idea what's going on, and certainly we didn't even know this existed until a few weeks ago.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Tuesday, December 7th, 2010, and I'm Darko. Welcome to this economic news bulletin. I'm going to cut it into two videos. I have a lot of information, a lot of news that I'm going to get to. New listeners and viewers, please go to my website and check it out. It's www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. This first article up is U.S. bond yields surge, stocks erase gains. U.S. government bond prices fell sharply on Tuesday amid worries over the fiscal outlook, while Wall Street stocks ended up only slightly as bond yields rose and an insider trading scandal worsened. Next up is from Reuters again. Crude jumps above $90 on cold snap and dollar. The euro is stronger. Dollar slips, lifts oil. And says here, European U.S. cold weather boost oil. Says U.S. crude oil future prices rose sharply on Tuesday, pushing above $90 a barrel for the first time in 26 months as cold weather boosting fuel demand and the dollar's weakness kept oil lifted. Said U.S. stock futures were boosted by a deal struck by U.S. President Barack Obama with Republicans to extend Bush-era tax breaks for 2 more years. Oil trades below $89 after a drop from 26-month high on Europe's debt concern. This is the most recent update. As of today, December 7th, 2010 at 4:19 p.m. from Bloomberg, crude oil tumbled from a 26-month high after breaching the upper limit of what Saudi Arabia's oil minister Ali Al-Name said is a satisfactory price for consumers and producers. So it said oil slipped 0.8% after surpassing the $70 to $90 a barrel range that Al-Name announced on November 1st. The kingdom had previously indicated a preferred target of $75 a barrel. Futures touched $90.76 cents earlier today following President Barry Sartori's agreement to a 2-year extension of tax cuts introduced by President George W. Bush, Mr. 66 Bush. So we're going to move on here. It says here gold ends at record on Europe's woes and dollar fears. Gold futures settled at a record Monday, aided by twin preoccupations of currency debasement and ongoing worries about Europe's sovereign debt. Gold for February delivery gained $9.90 or 0.7% to finish at $1,416.10 an ounce on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Silver surged 1.6% but stopped short of $30 an ounce, with the March contract settling at $29.74 an ounce. That's awesome for silver owners. Gold futures jumped to record $1,429.40 an ounce on demand for currency alternative. Gold futures jumped to $1,429 an ounce on concerns that the U.S. will pump more cash into the economy and Europe's debt woes will spread, boosting the appeal of the metal as an alternative to currencies. This next article up is from the Mail Online. No end in sight to U.S. economic crisis, as scariest jobs chart ever shows post-recession unemployment is at its worst since World War II. This is from December 6, 2010, as unemployment in the U.S. nears the dreaded 10% mark. Well, it's not really that. It's about almost 20%, with those that are no longer included in the unemployment rate. Those are those that are still unemployed and no longer receiving unemployment benefits. Says it is a chart to chill the bones of any job hunter, comparing previous recoveries from all 10 recessions since 1948 to the current financial crisis. The stark figure shows almost no improvement in employment figures in the past year. Some commentators have described the comparison as the scariest job chart ever, pointing to the fact that only the 2001 recession took longer to bring unemployment back to pre-crisis levels. Even then, the total percentage of jobs lost bottomed out at 2%, compared with 6% this time around. So there's the little chart, and the link will be posted in the description of the video. U.S. unemployment hits record high. This is from the 3rd. U.S. unemployment has hit a record high of 9.8% in November, raising fear about the strength of the economy's economic recovery. And I call it a restructuring. It's not a recovery. This is the future of the U.S. economy. Fed gives grim forecast for U.S. jobs. This is from yesterday. U.S. Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke says America's high unemployment rate will not drop to what he calls normal levels for years. The unemployment rate is just not going down, Bernanke told 60 Minutes in an interview aired Sunday night, adding that at the rate we are going, it could be 4 or 5 years before we're back to normal, talking about 5 or 6%. So next one up, and you just have to remember that the U.S. Treasury Department and Geithner or whoever it is that they pick, they're basically just managing the U.S.'s bankruptcy from way back in 1930. So that's pretty much what they're doing over there at the Treasury. They're just managing all the money that's going to go to the Federal Reserve. They're just managing our bankruptcy. It's not really ours. It's not our deficit. We don't have any say in it, so I'm not really saying that I'm responsible. You're responsible. I don't think anybody really is. But either way, Camden's massive layoffs cause concern for public safety. Financial troubles in Camden continue. And despite pleas from local residents, one of the most crime-riddled city in the United States is about to lay off about half of its public safety forces. So here we go. It says Camden has a small tax base and relies on the state for most of its funding. Meanwhile, New Jersey's budget cuts have gone statewide. So not a pretty scenario, a pretty picture going on over there. 1 in 4 French youth are unemployed. The unemployment rate in France among youth aged 15 to 24 has reached 25% during the 3rd quarter of 2010, well above the European average of 20%. Next one up, U.S. jobless rate sends dollar tumbling. This is from the 4th. And it says hopes of recession recovery are fading in the U.S. as the unemployment rate in the country has drastically grown and its dollar is tumbling, reports say. Inflation risk is low, Fed says. Federal Reserve Chairman, and this is from the 5th, took his message into American homes Sunday evening, defending the central bank's bond buying program and pledging his 100% confidence he could prevent runaway inflation. Next up, from the Reuters, Jim Rogers, Fed understates inflation. U.S. government inflation data is a sham. Look at that. It says, and causing the Federal Reserve to vastly understate price pressures in the economy. Influential U.S. investor Jim Rogers said on Tuesday the U.S. central bank uses inflation data that relies too heavily on housing prices. Rogers told Reuters' 2011 Investment Outlook Summit, and he criticized the Fed's $600 billion bond buying program. So you can check out that story. U.S. state government's debt soars. Says American states have taken drastic measures, bracing for more cuts, layoffs, and tax increases as they collectively owe trillions of dollars in debt. Some of the measures include releasing the prisoners early or laying off police officers. Some analysis, though, believe the root problem is that the government employees have traditionally been overpaid. States now do not have enough money to pay for pensions and will be forced to renegotiate retirement benefits of government workers. Quote, unless they can renegotiate these liabilities because they can't pay them, they're far too big to have to look at bankruptcy by state governments as an alternative. So it's like, what is my solution? Well, I don't think you should use the government or politics to run the economy or social problems, but you know, you're stuck with this tyranny. You're stuck with this big corporation known as the United States government, and these people, these representatives, well, they don't represent you. They're not representing you. They never did. That's why I said the deficit isn't yours. And the U.S. income tax is a fraud. You don't really own the property that you have your house on. You pay property taxes. You don't own your car unless you have allodial titles for your car or your home. Usually you have to pay a tax on that or register. So basically the state owns your car. They own your land. The banks pretty much own your house. So with your Social Security number, they own you. That's your corporate name. So a lot is going on, and most people don't have a clue. So what is my solution? My solution would be to relax gun laws and let these people, like in Camden County and what they're talking about right here, you know, getting rid of police forces, just let people protect themselves. Quit with these stupid little gun laws, and then take all these people that are incarcerated for things such as holding the wrong vegetation, marijuana, and all of these victimless crimes that people are in jail for, get them out of there, right? Only those people that commit murder or commit harm against other people's property, which is their body, or they steal their property, i.e. kidnapping, or they steal their money, their currency, or their any kind of valuables, then they should be in jail. Beyond that, I really don't see the purpose of it. So there's a lot of money you can save right there. Moving on, Americans strongly oppose proposed gas tax hike. Americans by a wide margin oppose a proposal to raise the U.S. gasoline tax by 15 cents a gallon to help cut U.S. budget deficits. Like I said, you're not even responsible for it because you have no say in, and now they're going to slap you with a 15 cent per gallon gas tax because of it. Well, don't worry, folks, my fellow slaves. The carbon tax, the CO2 tax, is coming, and that will be to keep the global government, to fund the global government, which we've already been funding, most of the U.S. and the U.K. and Europe. But that carbon tax, be rest assured, it will be made and designed to go directly to the private banks, and it will have nothing to do with the climate. It will have nothing to do with environmentalism, although you will see a bunch of green police and Nazis, they call them eco-Nazis or eco-fascists, telling you to, you know, do this and do that, and they'll be inspecting your homes and all the other good stuff that comes along with it. So, says tax cut vote shows Democratic divide. House passes extension, including excluding higher incomes. A largely symbolic effort reflecting unhappiness with the White House. Millions of households taking on more debt. This is a little bit of an older article, sorry, but I thought I'd include it in there. Millions of households are falling behind with their bills as an extra 40 take on more debt to cover the costs, insolvency experts report. And then look at this. Euro at risk of collapse, says Treasury watchdog as economic crisis sweeps continent. Eurozone finance ministers insist $635 billion bailout fund is big enough to deal with debt crisis. This Irish budget debate begins in Dublin, and debt-laden government's $5 billion cost-cutting package to slash social welfare. So instead of slashing all those other things like I was referring to, including, you know, I was talking about the prisons and all that, and allowing people to defend themselves. Also, talking about social programs. Well, why don't you stop these phony, fraudulent, unconstitutional wars, right? If you do that, you're going to save a hell of a lot of money. You don't have to cut social programs. But no, they got to play class warfare, financial warfare. It's mind control. It's basically what it is. EU's economic recovery gloomy, says IMF. A little bit of an older article, but Eurozone says bailout funds enough for now. For now, you like that? Oh, for now. That's nice free market, right? No, that's corporatism. Look up the definition. Euro hampered by political bickering, dollar edges up. And we're going to bust into part 2, and you can join me as we read the 24 signs that all of America is becoming just like Detroit. So please join me. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.